The envelope on Amelia Carter's desk had no return address, just her name written in precise handwriting that somehow felt dangerous. She stared at it for a full minute before her cubicle neighbor, Rachel, poked her head over the divider. "You going to open it or frame it?" Amelia worked as a senior accountant at Vanguard Hotels, a luxury hospitality empire with properties in 12 countries. The corporate office in downtown Chicago buzzed with the usual Thursday morning energy. Phones ringing, keyboards clicking, the smell of burnt coffee from the break room wafting through the air. She had been here for 3 years, climbing steadily through the ranks with her head down and her work impeccable. The envelope felt heavy between her fingers as she finally opened it. Inside was a single card, cream-colored and expensive. The message made her stomach drop. "Dinner tonight. 8 o'clock. Alina. I will send a car. Please say yes. Isaac Vaughn." Isaac Vaughn, the CEO of Vanguard Hotels, the man who sat in a glass office on the 42nd floor, so far removed from the accounting department on the 18th that Amelia had only seen him twice in person. Once at a company-wide meeting where he had discussed expansion into Southeast Asia, with the kind of commanding presence that made everyone sit straighter in their chairs. Once in an elevator where she had pressed herself against the wall while he talked on his phone about acquiring a competitor, his voice low and decisive. He was 34, according to company gossip. Self-made, having built Vanguard from a single boutique hotel in Miami into a global brand worth billions. He was also devastatingly handsome in that particular way that made women nervous. Dark hair always perfectly styled, sharp jawline, eyes so intensely blue they seemed to see through excuses and straight into truth. He wore suits that probably cost more than her monthly rent. And he had just asked her to dinner. Oh my God. Rachel had craned her neck enough to read the card. Oh my God, Amelia, the CEO, shut up. Amelia shoved the card into her drawer. This is insane. This cannot be happening. Are you going to go? Absolutely not. You know the policy. No fraternization between employees of different hierarchical levels. It's in the handbook, page 17. Rachel rolled her eyes. Only you would know the exact page number. Amelia, the CEO just asked you out. The billionaire CEO who looks like he walked off a magazine cover. Which is exactly why this is insane. Why would he ask me out? He does not even know me. But even as she said it, Amelia remembered something from 2 weeks ago. She had been working late, reviewing quarterly reports in one of the small conference rooms on the 20th floor, because her cubicle mate had been on a speakerphone call that would not end. Around 9 at night, she had gone to the break room for coffee and found Isaac Vaughn there, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up, looking at his phone with an expression of pure frustration. Long night. The words had come out before she could stop them. He had looked up surprised. Then smiled, and it had transformed his entire face from intimidating to human. The longest, tax documents, they somehow make hotel acquisition seem boring. She had laughed. Try reviewing 3 years of expense reports for accounting discrepancies. I found someone who expensed a hot air balloon ride in Utah. For business, supposedly a client entertainment expense, in Utah. We do not have any clients in Utah, exactly. They had talked for maybe 10 minutes, nothing deep. Just 2 people tired from work, sharing the kind of easy conversation that happens in break rooms at night when the office is mostly empty. He had asked her name, asked which department. Seemed genuinely interested when she explained the forensic accounting work she did, tracking financial irregularities. Then his phone had rung. He had excused himself. And Amelia had gone back to her conference room thinking that was a nice moment but nothing more. Apparently, she had been wrong. Her phone buzzed, an internal message from an unknown extension. Please say yes. I promise to make it worth the risk. Roman 4. Her heart hammered. He was waiting for a response. The CEO of a billion-dollar company was sitting somewhere in this building, waiting to see if a senior accountant would have dinner with him. Amelia typed back before she could overthink it. Company policy prohibits this. You wrote the policy. His response came within seconds. Some policies deserve to be reconsidered. 8 o'clock. This is a terrible idea. The best ideas usually are. Is that a yes? Amelia looked around her cubicle. At the beige walls, the filing cabinets, the framed certification from her CPA exam. She was 28 years old. She had spent her entire adult life being responsible, being careful, being the person who followed rules and colored inside the lines. She had exactly 3 friends, a studio apartment with a Murphy bed, and a cat named Calculator who only liked her when his food bowl was full. When was the last time she had done something reckless? Yes. The car that picked her up at 7:45 was a black Mercedes with leather seats that probably cost more than her entire car. The driver was professional and silent, navigating Chicago traffic with practiced ease. Amelia had changed 4 times before settling on a navy dress that was nice enough for Alinea, one of the best restaurants in the city, but not so fancy that she looked like she was trying too hard. Her hands shook slightly as they pulled up to the restaurant. Isaac was waiting outside, and Amelia's breath caught. He wore a charcoal suit without a tie, the top button of his shirt undone, looking somehow both polished and relaxed. When he saw her, his face lit up in a way that made her think maybe this was not just some whim. Maybe he had been as nervous as she was. You came. He opened the car door himself, offering his hand to help her out. I probably should not have. But you did. His hand was warm, strong, and he held hers a moment longer than necessary. Thank you. Alinea was everything the reviews promised. Artistic, innovative, every dish a small masterpiece. But Amelia barely tasted the food because she was too focused on Isaac, on the way he watched her when she talked, like every word mattered, on how he asked questions that showed he actually remembered their break room conversation, on the laugh lines around his eyes when she told him about Calculator. You named your cat Calculator. I adopted him during tax season. It seemed fitting. That is the most accountant thing I have ever heard, says the man who spent his evening reading tax documents. He grinned. Touché. The conversation flowed easily, naturally. He told her about growing up in Miami, the son of a housekeeper who worked in luxury hotels. How he had watched the way the hospitality industry worked from the inside out, seeing both the glamour guests experienced and the exhausting reality staff lived. How he had put himself through business school working 3 jobs, then scraped together enough money to buy a failing hotel and turn it around. Everyone thought I was crazy, he said, swirling wine in his glass. 24 years old, no connections, trying to compete in an industry dominated by legacy brands and old money. But you did it. I was too stubborn to fail, and too angry. He paused. My mother worked herself to death, literally. Heart attack at 52. She spent 30 years cleaning rooms in hotels she could never afford to stay in. I wanted to build something different. Somewhere staff were treated well, paid well, respected. Amelia thought about the benefits at Vanguard. The health care, the retirement matching, the education reimbursement program. She had always appreciated it but never thought about why the company was structured that way. You built that for her. I built it for everyone like her. His eyes met hers, intense and honest. Money is just a byproduct. The actual goal is creating something that matters. Most of the wealthy people Amelia had encountered through work treated their money like armor, like proof of superiority. Isaac wore his wealth like a tool, something useful but not defining. It was unexpectedly attractive. "Can I ask you something?" she said as dessert arrived, an elaborate chocolate construction that looked more like art than food. "Anything." "Why me? You could ask out anyone. Models, actresses, socialites. Why an accountant you talked to once in a break room?" Isaac was quiet for a moment, considering. "Do you know what it is like to be wealthy and visible? Everyone wants something. They want jobs, investments, connections, access. They laugh at jokes that are not funny and agree with opinions they do not share. It is exhausting." He leaned forward. "But you, that night in the break room, you just talked to me like a person. You made fun of expense reports and looked genuinely tired. You were real. Do you know how rare that is? So this is about authenticity. This is about the fact that I have not stopped thinking about you for 2 weeks. About how you laughed. About the way you explain complicated financial concepts like they are the most fascinating thing in the world. About how I want to know everything else. What you read, what you think about at 3 in the morning, what makes you happy." Amelia's throat felt tight. "Isaac, I know this breaks policy. I know it is risky, but I have spent 10 years building a company and I am good at risk assessment. This feels like the kind of risk that is worth taking." The drive back to her apartment was quiet but not uncomfortable. Isaac sat close enough that she could feel the warmth of him, smell his cologne, something subtle and expensive. When they pulled up to her building, a modest walk-up in a decent neighborhood, he walked her to the door. "I would like to see you again," he said. "This is complicated. I know. If anyone finds out, it could cause serious problems. For both of us. The board, the employees, the media. I know that too." He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, and the gesture was so gentle that Amelia felt something crack open in her chest. "But I meant what I said. You are worth the risk. I need time to think. Take all the time you need." He pulled out his phone. "Can I have your number? Your real number, not just the work extension." She gave it to him, and he typed it in carefully. Then he looked at her with an expression she could not quite read. "Amelia, I am not playing games. I want you to know that. This is not some casual thing for me. We barely know each other. Then let me change that." He kissed her cheek, lingering just long enough to make her dizzy, then walked back to the car. Amelia stood on her doorstep, watching the Mercedes disappear into Chicago traffic, and wondered what she had just started. Inside her apartment, Calculator meowed accusingly from his perch on the bookshelf. She fed him, changed into pajamas, and lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Her phone buzzed. A text from Isaac. "Thank you for tonight. Sleep well," she typed back. "You too." Then, before she could overthink it, she added, "I would like to see you again too." His response was immediate. "Tomorrow, too soon, people will notice. Saturday then. I will pick you up at noon. Wear comfortable shoes. Where are we going? It is a surprise. Trust me." Amelia thought about company policy, about the potential consequences, about the way her heart had raced all evening. About the fact that Isaac Vaughn, billionaire CEO, looked at her like she was the most interesting person in the world. Yes. The rest of the week crawled by. At work, Amelia tried to focus on her reports, but her mind kept drifting. Every time her phone buzzed, her heart jumped, hoping it was Isaac. They texted constantly, long conversations that ranged from silly to serious. He sent her photos of his morning coffee, terrible puns about hotels, thoughtful questions about her childhood. She learned he was an early riser who worked out at 5 in the morning, that he loved old movies, especially film noir, that he spoke Spanish fluently and decent French, that he had a younger sister, Isabel, who taught kindergarten in Miami and kept him grounded. "She is the only person who still treats me like an annoying older brother," he texted. It is refreshing. Amelia told him about growing up in Ohio, the middle child in a family of 5, about her father who managed a hardware store and her mother who did bookkeeping for local businesses, about how she had always loved the neat logic of numbers, the way everything balanced if you looked at it correctly. "You see patterns everywhere, do not you?" he texted Thursday night, occupational hazard. "Why? Just trying to understand how your mind works. It is fascinating." Friday afternoon, Rachel cornered her at the coffee machine. "You have been glowing all week. Please tell me you went out with him." "I cannot talk about this here." "So you did, Amelia. Oh my God." Rachel lowered her voice. "How was it?" "It was good, really good." "Are you seeing him again?" "Tomorrow." "This is insane. This is like a movie. What if someone finds out?" Amelia had been thinking about that constantly. The company policy was clear. Relationships between employees of significantly different ranks were prohibited, specifically to prevent favoritism, harassment, and conflicts of interest. As CEO, Isaac was about as high as you could get. As a senior accountant, Amelia was firmly middle management. "We are being careful," she said. "Careful does not matter if the board finds out. They could fire you. They could force him to step down. I know. But you are doing it anyway." Amelia poured her coffee, watching the dark liquid fill the mug. "When is the last time you did something just because it felt right, even though it was risky?" Rachel was quiet. "Just be careful, okay? I do not want to see you get hurt." Saturday arrived with perfect autumn weather, cool and clear. Isaac picked her up in a different car, a Range Rover that looked more suited to adventure than corporate meetings. He wore jeans and a Henley shirt, and Amelia was struck again by how handsome he was, even dressed casually. "Ready?" he asked. "Still do not know where we are going." "Good." He grinned, and Amelia realized she had never seen him look this relaxed. At work, even in the break room that night, there had been a certain tension to him, a coiled readiness. Today he looked young, free, happy. They drove north out of the city, talking easily about everything and nothing. After about an hour, Isaac pulled into a state park Amelia had never visited. He grabbed a backpack from the rear and led her to a hiking trail that wound through brilliant fall foliage. "You brought me hiking?" she asked. "Is that okay? You said you liked being outside, and I thought it would be nice to go somewhere we would not run into work people." It was more than nice. It was perfect. They hiked for 2 hours, the conversation flowing as easily as it had over text. Isaac knew the names of trees, pointing out different species as they walked. He told her about hiking in the Everglades as a kid, how it was his escape from a crowded apartment and a stressed mother. "I would pretend I was exploring uncharted territory," he said, "building empires in my head. And now you actually built one. The reality is less romantic than the fantasy. More spreadsheets, fewer adventures." They stopped for lunch at a scenic overlook, and Isaac unpacked sandwiches from a local deli, fresh fruit, expensive chocolate. It was thoughtful, personal, so different from the elaborate meal at Alinea. "This is my favorite kind of date," he admitted. "No cameras, no one recognizing me, just 2 people talking." "Does that happen a lot? People recognizing you more than I would like?" "The business magazines love a self-made billionaire story. I have learned to hide behind sunglasses and baseball caps when I want privacy." Amelia bit into her sandwich, thinking, "Is that why you did not tell me who you were? In the break room, I did not hide it. You knew I worked there. But you did not introduce yourself as the CEO." Isaac looked out at the view, the rolling hills painted in autumn colors. "Would you have talked to me the same way if I had?" she considered. "Probably not." She would have been formal, careful, treating him like the boss rather than a tired colleague sharing a break room at night. "That is why," he said simply. "For 10 minutes I got to just be Isaac. It was nice." They hiked back as the sun started to lower, the temperature dropping. Amelia shivered slightly, and without a word, Isaac shrugged off his jacket and draped it around her shoulders. It smelled like him, and she pulled it closer. "Thank you for today," she said as they reached the car. "This was perfect. It is not over yet." He drove them to a small Italian restaurant in a nearby town, family-owned and clearly a place he had been before. The owner greeted him warmly, showing them to a corner table away from windows. The food was incredible, homemade pasta and rich sauces, and Amelia found herself laughing more than she had in months. "Can I ask you something serious?" Isaac said over tiramisu they were sharing. "Yes. What do you want, not just career-wise but in life?" What does happiness look like for Amelia Carter? No one had ever asked her that. Not directly, not like her answer truly mattered. "I want to matter," she said slowly. "I want to do work that makes a difference. I want people in my life who see me, really see me, not just what I can do for them. I want to build something lasting, like a relationship, like a life, a good one, with someone who wants to build it with me." Isaac reached across the table, taking her hand. His thumb brushed across her knuckles, gentle and deliberate. "I want that too. I have spent 10 years building a company and it has been worth it. But it is also lonely. You cannot build a life with spreadsheets and board meetings. What do you want, Isaac?" He looked at her with such intensity that Amelia felt exposed, seen in a way that was both frightening and exhilarating. "I want someone who challenges me, someone real, someone I can trust with the parts of myself I do not show the world." He paused. "I want you, Amelia. I know it is fast. I know it is complicated, but I have not felt this certain about something in a long time." Her heart hammered. "We have known each other for less than a week. I know. This could blow up in both our faces. I know that too. Then why risk it? Because the alternative is wondering what if for the rest of my life. And I did not build everything I have by playing it safe." They drove back to Chicago in comfortable silence, hands linked across the center console. When Isaac walked her to her door, Amelia did not want the day to end. "Come in," she asked. "Are you sure?" "No, but I am asking anyway." Her studio apartment was small, especially compared to what she imagined his place looked like, but Isaac did not seem to notice or care. He looked at the bookshelves crammed with novels and financial texts, the framed photos of her family, the paintings she had bought from a street fair. Calculator emerged from under the bed, eyeing Isaac suspiciously. "So this is the famous calculator." Isaac crouched down, offering his hand. The cat sniffed it, then surprisingly rubbed against his palm. "I think he likes me. He does not like anyone. Maybe he has good taste." They sat on her couch, talking until well past midnight. Isaac told her about the pressure of running a company, the weight of thousands of employees depending on decisions he made. About imposter syndrome that still crept in sometimes, whispering that he was just a poor kid from Miami playing dress-up. Amelia told him about the isolation of always being the responsible one, the person everyone relied on but no one really knew, about wanting more than stability but being afraid to reach for it. "I see you," Isaac said quietly. "All of you. And I am not afraid." When he finally left, he kissed her at the door. Not a polite cheek kiss like before, but a real kiss, slow and deep and full of promise. Amelia melted into it, her hands fisting in his shirt, and when they finally broke apart, they were both breathing hard. "I should go," he murmured, but he did not move. "You should." He kissed her again. "Amelia." "Yes, this is real for me. I need you to know that." "It is real for me too." Over the next few weeks, they fell into a pattern. Secret dates on weekends, long text conversations during the week, stolen moments when they could manage them. Isaac took her to a private cooking class where they laughed through making pasta from scratch. She introduced him to her favorite used bookstore, and he bought a small fortune in vintage mysteries. They watched old movies in his penthouse apartment, which was stunning but oddly impersonal, like a hotel suite rather than a home. "I am never here," he admitted. "It is just a place to sleep. You should make it feel more like yours. Maybe you could help with that." At work, they were scrupulously professional. Isaac barely looked at her during the one company meeting they both attended. But afterward, he texted, "You looked beautiful today. That green dress is my new favorite thing." The secrecy was thrilling but also exhausting. Amelia hated lying to Rachel, hated the constant vigilance of making sure they were not seen together. She worried constantly about someone finding out about the consequences. "We should tell someone," she said one evening at his apartment. "Human resources, maybe. There must be a protocol for this." Isaac was quiet, his arm around her as they sat on his couch. "I have been thinking about that. The policy exists for good reasons, but it was designed to protect employees from being coerced or manipulated by superiors. That is not what this is. But on paper it looks bad. On paper everything looks bad. A CEO dating an accountant, the power imbalance, the potential for favoritism." "So what do we do?" He turned to face her, serious. "I have been talking to my lawyer quietly. There might be a way to restructure things so you are not in my direct reporting line. Transfer you to a subsidiary or create a new role that reports to the board instead of me. That feels like cheating the system. It is following the spirit of the law rather than the letter. The point is to eliminate the power imbalance and potential conflicts of interest. If we do that, the relationship becomes less problematic." Amelia thought about it. She loved her job, loved the work she did, but she was falling for Isaac in a way that felt inevitable and terrifying. If there was a path that let her keep both, maybe it was worth considering. "Let me think about it." "Take your time. I am not going anywhere." But the universe had other plans. The following Tuesday, Amelia was called into a meeting with the CFO, Gregory Manning. He was a stern man in his 50s, brilliant with numbers but lacking warmth. Amelia had always found him slightly intimidating. "Miss Carter," he said as she entered his office. "Close the door." Her stomach dropped. Did he know? Had someone seen her with Isaac? "I have been reviewing your work," Gregory continued. "Your forensic accounting on the Utah expense report issue led me to investigate further. It appears we have a much larger problem." Relief flooded through her, followed quickly by professional interest. "What kind of problem?" "Systematic fraud. Someone has been embezzling funds through fake vendor accounts, small amounts spread across multiple properties, designed to slip under the radar. But your work made me look closer." He showed her the spreadsheets, and Amelia's accounting brain kicked into gear. He was right. Someone had been very clever but not clever enough. The pattern was there if you knew what to look for. "How much are we talking?" she asked. "At least 2 million over the past 3 years, possibly more. Who has access to create vendor accounts? That is the problem. It requires fairly high-level access. Someone in senior finance, possibly regional management." They worked together for the next week, unraveling the fraud. It was intricate, sophisticated, and deeply troubling. Amelia barely saw Isaac except in passing. When they texted, she could not tell him what she was working on. It was confidential, potentially criminal, and involved people he trusted. The stress wore on her. She lost sleep, drank too much coffee, snapped at Rachel over nothing. "What is going on with you?" Rachel demanded. "Big project." "Cannot talk about it." "Does Isaac know you are running yourself into the ground?" This is not about Isaac, but it was in a way. Because when they finally traced the embezzlement to its source, Amelia's world tilted. Michael Donahue, vice president of finance. Someone who had worked for Vanguard since the beginning, who Isaac considered a friend. "We need to tell the CEO," Gregory said. Amelia's hands shook. "Are you certain it is him?" "The evidence is conclusive. He will need to be fired and likely prosecuted." That night, Amelia met Isaac at his apartment as planned. He took one look at her face and pulled her into his arms. "What is wrong?" She told him everything. Watched his expression shift from concern to shock to anger to something that looked like grief. "Michael," he sat down heavily. "Are you absolutely sure?" "I triple-checked everything." "I am sorry, Isaac." He was quiet for a long time. "He was one of my first hires. I trusted him with everything. I know. $2 million. He stole $2 million and I never noticed. He was very good at hiding it." "That is not your fault." Isaac looked at her, his eyes haunted. "How did I miss this? What else am I missing?" Over the next few days, Isaac handled the situation with a cold efficiency that reminded Amelia he was a CEO first. Michael was fired, the authorities were notified, and lawyers descended like vultures. The company managed to keep it out of the press, but internally, everyone knew something big had happened. Amelia threw herself into the cleanup work, helping to identify all the fraudulent transactions and recover what could be recovered. She worked 14-hour days, coming home exhausted. Isaac texted constantly, worried about her. "Please take care of yourself." "I am fine." "You are not fine." "I can see it. Let me help." "You cannot help with this. I need to finish it." The distance between them grew, not because they wanted it, but because the situation demanded it. Isaac was dealing with the betrayal of someone he had considered family. Amelia was drowning in forensic work and depositions. When they finally managed to have dinner together, 3 weeks after the fraud was discovered, they were both exhausted. "I hate this," Isaac said. "I hate that we barely see each other. I hate that my company problems became your burden." "It is my job." "It is more than your job now. You saved this company from hemorrhaging money. The board wants to promote you." Amelia looked up sharply. "What?" "Director of Financial Compliance, new position. You would report directly to the board, not through the finance department." "Significant raise, your own team." "Isaac, we talked about this. You said you would not create favoritism." "This is not favoritism. This is recognizing exceptional work. You uncovered major fraud. You deserve recognition." "It looks bad. The CEO's girlfriend getting a major promotion." "You are not my girlfriend." The words hit like a slap. Amelia set down her fork. "Excuse me." Isaac reached for her hand. "What I mean is, you are more than that. Girlfriend sounds casual, temporary. You are the person I am in love with." The world stopped. "What?" "I am in love with you, Amelia. I know it has only been a few months. I know this whole situation is complicated and messy and probably breaking half a dozen policies. But I am in love with you, and I need you to know that before you make any decisions about your career." Tears pricked her eyes. "You cannot just say that now." "Why not?" "Because I cannot tell if it is real or if it is gratitude for finding the fraud or if it is just stress making you emotional." Isaac moved around the table, kneeling beside her chair. "It is real. It has been real since that night in the break room when you made me laugh about hot air balloons. It got more real when you trusted me enough to say yes to dinner. And it became undeniable when I realized I would rather face any problem with you beside me than solve it alone." "Isaac, I love the way you think. I love how you explain accounting like it is poetry. I love that you named your cat Calculator and that you cry at old movies and that you see the best in people even when they disappoint you." He cupped her face in his hands. "I love you, all of you. And I will wait as long as it takes for you to believe it." Amelia kissed him, tears streaming down her face. "I love you too. I have been trying not to because it is terrifying, but I love you too." They held each other for a long time, the restaurant fading away around them. "What do we do now?" She whispered. "We tell the truth. We go to the board, we explain the relationship, and we deal with the consequences together. They might make you choose between the company and me. Then I choose you. Isaac, you cannot do that. Vanguard is your life's work. You are my life. The company is just what I do." The board meeting was scheduled for the following Monday. Isaac insisted on telling them together, presenting it as a united front. Amelia was terrified. "What if they fire us both?" she asked the night before. "Then we will figure something else out." "You are brilliant. You could work anywhere, and I have enough money that we would be fine." "I do not want your money. I know. That is one of the things I love about you." The board consisted of 7 people, mostly venture capitalists and industry veterans who had invested early in Vanguard. They listened in stony silence as Isaac explained the relationship, the timeline, the steps they were taking to eliminate conflicts of interest. "This is highly irregular," one board member said. "I am aware," Isaac replied. "But we wanted to be transparent rather than hide it and have it discovered later." Another board member looked at Amelia. "You understand this puts the company in a difficult position. The optics are problematic." "I understand," Amelia said, keeping her voice steady. "Which is why I would be willing to resign if necessary." "No," Isaac said sharply. "Amelia Carter is one of the most talented accountants this company has ever had. She uncovered fraud that could have bankrupted us. Forcing her to resign because we are in a relationship is not only unfair, it is terrible business." "You are letting personal feelings cloud your judgment," the first board member said. "I am letting competence guide my judgment. Amelia earned her place here long before we started dating. Punishing her for my interest is discriminatory." The discussion went on for 2 hours. Finally, the board chair called for a private deliberation. Isaac and Amelia waited in the hall, not talking, just holding hands. When they were called back in, the board chair spoke carefully. "We have decided that Miss Carter will take the Director of Financial Compliance position, reporting directly to this board rather than through executive management. This eliminates the direct reporting conflict. However, we expect both of you to maintain absolute professionalism in the workplace. No public displays of affection, no favoritism, and full transparency if any conflicts arise. Additionally, we will be implementing mandatory training on workplace relationships and ethics for all senior staff." Relief flooded through Amelia. "Thank you. Do not make us regret this decision," the board chair said. Outside the building, Isaac pulled her into a tight embrace. "We did it. We survived anyway. More than survived. You got the promotion you deserve, and we get to be together without hiding. We still have to be careful at work." "Careful I can do. Hiding you was killing me." The announcement of Amelia's promotion was made the following week, along with a company-wide memo about updated policies on workplace relationships. It was handled professionally, emphasizing her qualifications and the fraud she had uncovered. There was gossip, of course, knowing looks and whispered conversations, but Amelia's team respected her, and that mattered more. Rachel cornered her in the break room. "So it is official. It is. How does it feel?" "Terrifying." "Wonderful. Like I am standing on the edge of something huge. He really loves you, you know. I have seen the way he looks at you when he thinks no one is watching." "I love him too." "Good. You deserve to be happy." Over the next 6 months, Amelia and Isaac built their relationship in the open. They were careful at work, professional and appropriate. But outside the office, they built a life together. Amelia spent more time at his penthouse, slowly making it feel like a home. Isaac met her family in Ohio, charming her mother and bonding with her father over hardware store management. Amelia flew to Miami and met Isabel, who hugged her tightly and whispered, "Thank God someone finally got through to him." They traveled together, combining business trips with personal time. Paris, Tokyo, Barcelona. Isaac showed her the world, and Amelia showed him how to slow down and actually enjoy it. "I spent 10 years running," he admitted one evening in Rome. "Building the company, proving myself, never stopping. But with you I want to stop. I want to notice things." "Like what?" "Like how you look in Italian sunlight. Like how you laugh when you are truly happy. Like how I never want to be without you." In month 8, Isaac asked her to move in officially. Not just staying over most nights, but actually combining their lives. Amelia said yes, and Calculator adjusted to the bigger space with feline approval. In month 10, they attended a charity gala together, their first major public appearance as a couple. The press had a field day with it. Billionaire CEO and his Cinderella accountant. The headlines were ridiculous, but they laughed them off. "You are not Cinderella," Isaac said. "You are the person who makes me better." In month 12, Isaac took her back to the state park where they had their second date. They hiked the same trail, now covered in early spring flowers. At the overlook where they had eaten lunch a year before, he got down on one knee. "Amelia Carter, you are the smartest, funniest, most genuine person I have ever known. You saw me when I was just a tired guy in a break room, and you have seen every part of me since. You make me want to be better, to build more, to risk everything." He pulled out a ring, simple and elegant. "Will you marry me?" Amelia could barely see through her tears. "Yes, yes, absolutely yes." The ring fit perfectly. They sat on the overlook, holding each other, watching the sun set over the same view that had been the backdrop for their first perfect day. "I cannot believe we almost did not happen," Amelia said. "If you had not sent that invitation, if I had said no, but you said yes. You took the risk." "Best risk I ever took." They were married 6 months later in a small ceremony in Miami, on the beach where Isaac's mother used to take him as a child. It was intimate, just family and close friends. Isabel was the maid of honor. Rachel flew in from Chicago. Amelia's parents cried through the whole ceremony. Isaac's vows made everyone cry. "You found me when I did not know I was lost. You challenged me when I needed challenging. You loved me when I was scared to be loved. And now, I get to spend the rest of my life making sure you know how extraordinary you are." Amelia's voice shook reading her own vows. "You saw me, really saw me, past the walls and the responsibilities and the fear. You made me brave enough to take a chance on something wonderful. I love you with everything I am, and I cannot wait to build a life with you that is as beautiful as this moment." They honeymooned in Greece. 2 weeks of sunshine and history, and the kind of easy happiness that comes from being with exactly the right person. Isaac was different there, softer, more open. They talked about everything. Their childhoods, their dreams, the family they wanted to build. "How many kids do you want?" Amelia asked one evening on Santorini. "2, maybe 3. Enough that they are not lonely, but not so many we lose our minds." "That sounds perfect. And a dog. I always wanted a dog." Calculator will have opinions about that. Calculator will adjust. He is surprisingly adaptable for a cat. They returned to Chicago and settled into married life. Work was busy but rewarding. Amelia's department was thriving, implementing new systems to prevent fraud and improving financial transparency across the company. Isaac was working on expanding Vanguard into South America, a project that energized him. But the best parts were the small moments. Morning coffee together before work. Cooking dinner and laughing when things went wrong. Falling asleep tangled together, safe and content. In their second year of marriage, Amelia got pregnant. They were thrilled and terrified in equal measure. Isaac became obsessively protective, reading parenting books and baby-proofing the apartment 6 months too early. "You need to relax," Amelia said, watching him install cabinet locks. "Our child will be safe. Our child is currently the size of a lime. The cabinets can wait." He pulled her close, his hand on her barely there belly. "I just want to do this right. I want to be the father I never had. You will be. You are already so good at loving." Their daughter, Iris Marie Vaughn, was born on a snowy December evening. She had Amelia's nose and Isaac's blue eyes and a full head of dark hair. Isaac cried when he held her for the first time, overwhelmed with love and wonder. "She is perfect," he whispered. "You are both perfect." Parenthood was exhausting and beautiful. They took turns with night feedings, navigated sleep deprivation with humor and grace, and marveled constantly at the tiny person they had created. Isaac was a devoted father, rearranging his schedule to be present, turning down business trips in those early months. "The company will survive without me," he said, "but Iris only gets one childhood." When Iris was 18 months old, they found out they were expecting again. This time it was twin boys, a surprise that sent them into a delighted panic. "3 kids under 3, Amelia said, looking at the ultrasound. "We are going to need a bigger place." They moved to a house in the suburbs, with a yard for the kids and enough space for their growing family. Isaac insisted on a home office for Amelia, a place where she could work remotely when needed. They got the dog, a golden retriever named Prophet, who Calculator tolerated with regal disdain. The twins, James and Andrew, were born on a sunny May morning. They were healthy and loud and perfect. Isaac juggled bottles and diapers with the same strategic efficiency he applied to business deals, and Amelia fell even more in love with him watching him be a father. "How did we get here?" she asked one evening, holding Andrew while Isaac burped. James and Iris played with blocks nearby. "We took a risk," Isaac said. "We chose each other when it was complicated and scary, and we kept choosing each other every day after." Amelia looked around at their chaotic, beautiful life. At the toys scattered across the floor, the photos covering the walls, the man she loved holding their son. She thought about that night in the break room, the invitation in the envelope, the moment she decided to say yes. "I would do it all again," she said. "Every difficult moment, every complication, because it led to this." Isaac leaned over and kissed her, careful not to disturb the babies. "Me too. 1,000 times me too." Years passed. Iris started kindergarten. The twins learned to walk and then run and then cause chaos in tandem. Amelia became VP of Finance at Vanguard, her expertise recognized across the hospitality industry. Isaac gradually stepped back from day-to-day operations, focusing on strategic vision and mentoring younger executives. They found balance between work and family, between ambition and contentment. They celebrated their 10th anniversary back at Alinea, the restaurant where their first date had happened. Sitting at the same table, ordering the tasting menu, reminiscing about that nervous evening when neither of them knew what they were starting. "Did you think we would make it?" Amelia asked. "I hoped we would, but I was also terrified I would mess it up." Isaac took her hand across the table, his wedding ring catching the light. "You were worth every risk, every complication, every moment of fear. You still are." "I used to think love was supposed to be safe," Amelia said. "But the truth is, real love is the biggest risk there is. You are trusting someone with your whole heart, your whole life. That is terrifying. But worth it." "But worth it," she agreed. They went home to relieve the babysitter and check on their sleeping children. Iris in her room covered in posters of her current interests. The twins sharing a room by choice, bunked beds and shared secrets. Calculator, now ancient and dignified, sleeping on his favorite chair. Prophet sprawled in the hallway, tail thumping when he saw them. Isaac pulled Amelia close in the quiet house. "Thank you." "For what?" "For saying yes. For taking a chance on a guy who broke company policy. For building this life with me. Thank you for asking, for seeing me, for loving me the way I needed to be loved." They stood together in the peaceful house, holding each other the way they had 1,000 times before. Two people who had taken a risk when it was complicated and scary, who had chosen love over policy, who had built something lasting. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had not sent that invitation?" Amelia asked. "Never, because I would have found another way. You were too important to let slip away." "That is very romantic." "I am a very romantic guy. You should know that by now." Amelia laughed, the sound soft in the quiet night. She thought about the woman she had been, sitting at her cubicle, staring at an envelope that felt dangerous. She had been right to feel that way. Isaac had been dangerous, not because he was cruel or careless, but because he had seen her completely and loved her anyway. Because he had made her brave enough to want more than safety. The risk had been worth it. Every difficult moment, every complication, every time they had to choose each other over convenience. It had all been worth it for this. A life built on love, a family created from courage, a partnership that made them both better. "I love you," she said. "I love you too. Forever." And in that quiet moment, in the house full of the life they had built together, Amelia knew with absolute certainty that taking the risk had been the best decision she ever made. Isaac had asked her out despite company policy, never expecting the risk would risk his heart forever. But it had. And in the end, that risk had given them everything.